Peace, what's going down? It's DJ Pain One on the line with a man who needs no introduction, but I'll give him a quick one anyway. We got Kato on the track, and I'm definitely excited to link with him at South by Southwest. How are you feeling, sir?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm excited for South by the way. That's gonna be fucking dope.
Yeah, I've never held a collaborative session before, but I've wanted to for years. Abe just calls me up and says, "Hey, you want to do these collab workshops for BeatStars? It's gonna be you, Cash Money, AP, and Ken." I'm like, hell yeah, I want to do that. That's crazy, of course.
It's gonna be amazing.
So speaking of other craziness that BeatStars has us do, 1 week notice. It's one of the most uniquely created hip hop albums I think ever, and that's out. It's been out all month. It features Dizzy Wright, Jaron Benton, Audio Push, Demrick, Emilio Rojas, Reezy, DJ Hoppa, and of course Kato. When BeatStars and Dame Ritter came up with the idea of creating an entire album in 1 week, what was your initial reaction to that?
I've done projects like that before in actually a shorter period of time. Like I've done, collaborative projects where me and a couple other producers organize like this thing during A3C, and we just bring through a bunch of artists to come record on our tracks, and we do an entire project in like 3 days. So, but it was really exciting to me to get to work with this particular group of people. I was on board right away. Like I didn't need any time to think about it. Dame just hit me up and he was like, "Yo, I'm working on this project. Are you interested in being a part of it?" And I just right away said, hell yeah, sign me up.
It was literally just a bunch of dudes going to Austin and finishing a full album in 7 days.
Pretty much, that was the whole concept of it. 10 artists and producers, rent an Airbnb, record out of the BeatStars studio, and see how much music we could come up with. And I don't think anyone really had any expectations going into the project, which was cool. I think that was a good thing because we all just came in ready to work, like that's all we wanted to do is we wanted to work, make the best music that we can make.
I imagine even today a lot of people don't fully understand the role of a producer. It's not always just to make beats. And I know you did produce beats on the project, but what were some of the different roles you played in the creation of 1 week notice?
I was there for every step of the process. Like I was in the studio with Jaron and Emilio, and that first night it was all of us. Like we were all crammed into the BeatStars studio, and we knocked out like 2 or 3 songs that first night. But I was there for every step of the process. Like I made a beat from scratch in the studio. Get It and Go was made in the studio from scratch. Like I didn't have that beat already pre-made. I just thought it would be a cool vibe to like start recording something off of. And I was there for every step of the way, from making the songs to the actual mixing process and coordinating with our mix engineer Tantu. Shout out to Tantu. He was the engineer that mixed and tracked everything for the project, and I was there for all of that and just giving him feedback and telling him like certain things to tweak or change, and so I was there for the whole thing.
So you technically produced songs that you didn't make the beat for then?
Somewhat. So like DJ Hoppa was also, he produced about half of the project too. And we found a nice little groove with like half of us going to the BeatStars studio and recording songs there, while the other group would stay at the Airbnb, and they had a little mobile setup that they would just set up at the crib. And Hoppa was usually with that group. So we had like 2 separate groups going on at the same time, just pumping out all this music, and then we'd kind of convene at night at the crib and just share what we got, and we just kind of fill in the gaps from there. The fans love it. I think for a lot of them, it's the first time that they've heard Jaron and Dizzy on the same song since the Funk Volume breakup, so I think that was really exciting.
So shifting gears and talking more about you, you started your production career the same way a lot of producers do. You made beats for a while and then got a little more serious in college, and then finally decided to go all in. And I've read a lot of bios and, I read your wiki, but I didn't really get a clear idea of how you made that leap from, working on the showcase circuit to signing to Funk Volume.
I'm trying to remember myself. I wasn't even really conscious of what I was doing back then. I think I was just trying to figure out where I fit in the whole just music scene in general. And for me back then, it was just fun. Like I was doing it because I was having fun doing it. And I was working with my friends, and we were making music together and putting out music videos and doing shows. And I didn't really have any expectation of where it was all going. So the whole Funk Volume situation, like, that just came out of nowhere. Like, one of Hobson's fans had posted Jaron's music video on Hobson's Facebook page, and he saw it and he checked it out. And that same week, they flew him out to, I think it was Arizona, and he was signed to Funk Volume. And then after that, like, I continued working with Jaron, obviously, and then eventually Dame reached out to me and offered me a production deal. So then, you know, I joined the label as well, and it was just history from there.
You had a production deal with Funk Volume. What kinds of responsibilities and restrictions, if any, did that label situation have for you?
There weren't really any restrictions. I mean, I was still free to do whatever I wanted. For me, the bigger opportunity was just being able to learn from that situation, learn how an indie label operates, and learn how they make money, how do they interact with their fans, and how do they operate on a day-to-day as a business. That was the most exciting prospect to me, and just being able to be a part of a team that is dope, a team of talented artists and other producers, and I was just excited about being a part of that. I think that was the biggest lesson that I learned, is like how a business like that operates. And I learned a lot of that stuff. And after Funk Volume fell apart, I applied it to my own career. I think that helped me a lot.
Let's be honest, we're in similar situations. We've produced some big records, but we've never produced a hit record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've never gotten the big publishing deal, but we're still here. And I know you interviewed me last year for Beat Club, and we spoke about branding. We spoke about sustaining ourselves, you know, in the music business without being Metro Boomin or Timbaland.
Yeah.
And we're both making a living off of our respective brands. But a lot of producers would be discouraged by not getting those big hits. You know, they're not focused on sustainability because, you know, what we see are the Metro Boomers. We don't see the Katos. We don't necessarily see the DJ Payne ones being showcased as much. In your experience with Funk Volume, what was one thing that you took away from that situation and really ran with as far as building your own brand that helped you survive for this long and sustain yourself just off of music?
Good question. Funk Volume really opened my eyes, man, to a totally different world of how to do this music shit independently, you know? Before that point, I don't think I really knew or even understood how a record label even worked on an indie label or a major label. I'll never forget that first night, you know, after Jaron signed, and they were trying to arrange like a live stream with all the Funk Volume fans for Jaron to introduce himself and kind of talk to the fans. And I remember we were sitting there and we had the laptop open and we were in the live stream, and the questions from the fans were scrolling so fast that you couldn't even read them. So, you know, that kind of opened my eyes to like, holy shit, like this is actually real. You can do this shit independently and make a great living. I took that same kind of concept, that mentality of being able to really just own your lane, even if you're not on a major, like even if you're not working with these huge major artists, like you can still make a great living and do what you love to do independently, you know, and you don't have to sign to a major. You don't have to sign a major pub deal. Like you can do it all on your own.
What does a typical day in the life of Kato look like, just in terms of grinding and the type of schedule that you impose onto yourself to make sure that you're doing what you got to do to sustain yourself?
You know, I wake up usually around like 9 in the morning, take a shower, take a shit, you know, eat breakfast, and then I kind of start cracking away at like the emails and checking my social media, following up with people. And then kind of towards the later day / afternoon, that's when I'll start like working on music and you know, working on records that I have in the pipeline and stuff like that. And I'll, you know, if I need to, or if I feel inspired to, I'll start making beats, you know. So I have a couple different like businesses in my wheelhouse that keeps me pretty busy, from Beat Club to my beat store to working on all these different projects with these artists. Any given day, I have a lot of stuff on my plate that I can work on.
What keeps you going every single day? Because I mean, it's people think this is not a job just because it's fun and we're making music, and you know, I deal with that a lot. Just people misunderstandings when they're looking in from the outside. What keeps your nose to the grind as far as doing stuff? You know, checking email, that's not cool. That's not sexy. Making music, making beats, playing shows, touring, that's the part that's glamorous. So we got to deal with all this other stuff, you know, Facebook ads and SEO and stuff. How do you keep that part exciting, or at least how do you make sure that you get it done every day?
I mean, you know, there's definitely unglamorous parts to what we do on a daily basis, but for me, it's just like I continuously set new goals for myself, and there's constantly stuff that I want to work towards to kind of elevate my career, and no one's going to get that job done better than me. You know, I've never relied on anyone in my entire 10 plus years of being in the music industry. I've never relied on anyone else to do anything for me. For me, it's habitual. Like I wake up in the morning knowing that if I don't get these things done, then it's not going to get done. And my career is going to go to shit if I don't get these things done. So at the end of the day, I'm just self-driven. I'm self-motivated, and I think that's the definition of a good entrepreneur.
So to pick up on something you said earlier about all of your work with individual artists, obviously you work with Jaron Ben really closely, and a lot of producers and rappers are interested in these types of, I guess, what I would consider 50-50 situations where a producer and a vocalist tend to work exclusively together on, you know, one or more projects. And I do that. I love doing it. But I know when I started out doing that, I made a lot of mistakes and got myself into a lot of unequal partnerships. Based on your experience, what makes a 50-50 situation like that work for both the producer and the vocalist?
I think there has to be a mutual interest in between both parties to want to do something like that. Obviously, for me and Jaron, we've been working together for so long, but we've never given the fans an exclusively Kato Jaron EP. So we just felt like it was time. And aside from that, we're homies. Like, we're just friends. I believe in just making music with your friends and people that you like, you know? So I never want to force a situation where I'm working on a project or music with an artist that I don't really fuck with. I always want to do stuff like with my homies. So I think it comes down to that, man. Like, just work with people that you like, work with people that you believe in, and vice versa. Make sure that they believe in you and they like you. And I think everything after that can be figured out.
There are so many income streams out there for producers, and a lot of us don't take advantage of them simply just because we don't know they exist or we don't know how. What are some income streams that you've recently learned about that you've started taking advantage of?
The biggest revenue stream that has also been a challenge but a real learning experience for me was starting Beat Club, because for me, it's something I'm passionate about as a producer, just helping to educate and elevate other producers and help them understand mostly the business and entrepreneurial side of what we do, but also turning that into a sustainable business. So we're in the process of merging with Music Entrepreneur Club. I started Beat Club over a year ago, and I've learned a lot from my mistakes of running that. But it's a monthly subscription model. So, and I've never done that before. Like, I didn't know the first thing about how to run a subscription model. But I learned things along the way, and now we're at the point where we're merging with Music Entrepreneur Club and really trying to scale and broaden our audience. So I think that has been a really fulfilling journey for me, just learning how to operate that on the business side, and just, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I learned.
So any producers interested, or actually any artists now, since you're merging with MEC, which is Dame Ritter's online subscription service, how do vocalists, recording artists, producers sign up and get more information about Music Entrepreneur Club and Beat Club?
Just go to musicentrepreneurclub.com. MEC kind of took us under their umbrella. So if you go to their website, we're still in the process of merging the two groups. So we're trying to figure out a different platform that works for both of us. So the website's kind of a mess right now. It's not, it still has like the plans up there, but hopefully by the time this video comes out, we'll have all of our shit together. But just go to musicentrepreneurclub.com. and you can sign up either if you're an artist, we have plans available just for artists. If you're a producer, we have Beat Club under that umbrella too, and you can sign up for the Beat Club plan, and you can even do both if you want to.
So back to you, you've been creating a lot of content, exclusive content, and posting it on social media. So I've seen you do some remixes. I've seen you do some behind the beat kind of videos where you're breaking down some of your more popular songs. Obviously, you have to put on the video editor's hat when you sit down and do that. But one of the videos, and I think it was the breakdown for the lead single off of 1 Week Notice, you have this super dope beat breakdown video that's really well produced, you know, in terms of the video and the audio, of course. It seemed that you partnered with Propeller Heads on that because you used Reason and you used Reason to create that beat. Is that a formal partnership?
Yeah, so I've been using Reason for a super long time, and I've always wanted to partner with them on some sort of content. I just never had a direct relationship to Propellerhead. Just through the years, I've developed so many relationships, and I finally linked up with a producer named Justin Williams, who Reason does like a lot of sponsored videos with, and he's a Reason user. And so I linked up with Justin, and I brought him on Beat Club to do an interview with him and, you know, share some more knowledge and experience with the Beat Club members. And so Justin really made that connect, and he linked me up with Propellerhead. And from there, it was just us figuring out some cool content to shoot together, and we got some more on the way. So yeah, it was just through knowing the right people, bro. You know how that shit goes. Like, it's just all about networking.
To close out, I saw a video that you posted where you're just basically telling viewers about your journey into music, and you had a moment of panic where I think you had just gotten evicted from your apartment.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you were going to do. Somehow you just hustled your way into creating now all of these new revenue streams for yourself, and you did it fast because you knew you would just kind of, you know, I don't know, live like an indigent for the rest of your life if you didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
There are a lot of producers out there who want to be full-time producers, but they're just scared to death to quit their job and leave a comfortable situation to journey into this uncharted territory, which being a professional producer. What advice can you give them if they're considering making that leap?
Man, you know what? I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for the fact that I failed so many times in my career and took a lot of chances, you know, took a lot of risks. So for any upcoming producer or artist that is wanting to have a career in the music industry, like, this shit is not easy, and you have to be willing to learn from your mistakes. So my biggest advice would be go out and fuck up. Like, go out and make mistakes. Go out and take risks, especially when you're young, bro. Like, when you're in your early 20s or even mid 20s, like, that's the age where you should be willing to put it all on the line. Like, take some fucking risks, and if you fuck up, like, it's not the end of the world. If anything, you're going to learn a lot from those mistakes, and it's going to make you a better entrepreneur. It's going to make you a better producer. It's going to motivate you more to want to be successful and to want to keep pushing forward, you know? So whenever I meet an aspiring producer and he tells me that he's too scared to, like, put out his music, or he's afraid that it's not good enough, that should be like the easiest risk that you're willing to take, just putting your music out there. For me, part of my story was I struggled for many, many years before I got to this point, just trying to figure it all out. I've lived in, like, some of the shittiest places in Atlanta. I've been evicted from my place. Like, I got kicked out of my place. I've had to live in my girlfriend's, like, living room with boxes stacked up to the ceiling, you know, and that's when I had that revelation that you were talking about. And in that month, like, when my back was really against the wall, my experience allowed me to know what to do from there. And I made 10 racks, like, in that month, like, living out of my girlfriend's living room. I made 10 G's and got myself out of that situation. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have the knowledge or experience from taking these risks and fucking up, you know? That's my advice to any up and comer, man. You have to be willing to put it all on the line at some point, make calculated risks. You don't have to make stupid decisions and make dumb mistakes, but take calculated risks and don't be afraid to fuck up.
So I would always ask producers that I've interviewed if they had a damn that hurt moment. You kind of set me up perfectly for that segue. What is a big mistake that you've made that you learned a lot from?
I don't know if there was one specific incident, but I would say there were a lot of times probably where I didn't kind of cultivate the relationships that I've created over the years. That's one thing that I look back and I'm like, damn, well, if I would have just kind of got in with this one artist a little bit more, then I know I would have a Billboard hit by now, or I know I would have a Grammy by now. You can't overlook anyone in this game because you never know who you meet. Someone you meet today could end up becoming the biggest or hottest artist or producer 5 years from now, you know, and there's no way to know. Like everyone, when you're at that level, just like coming up, everyone's kind of the same to you. Like everyone's just on their grind, like trying to hustle, trying to make it. So you don't know who that person's going to be 5 years from now, but always treat people with like respect and just be good to people, you know.
I don't know if you feel comfortable saying a name. I'll say a name because it happened to me. It was with Lil B, and I told Lil B's producer and DJ keyboard kid that I had a chance to create a lot of albums with him. He asked me to, and I was just freaked out by his process because it was so non-traditional. Not just the way he rapped and recorded, but the frequency at which he was just dropping projects. And that freaked me out, and that was a major mistake on my part. So yeah, I'm opening the floor for you here.
There have definitely been a couple artists that have come into my life, especially early on in my career, man. I mean, I'm in Atlanta, you know, I'm in like a hub for hip hop and rap. And so I've met a lot of artists throughout the years. I've come across a lot of artists who have gone on to do some really, really big things. I'd probably look like a fucking idiot if I just sat here and name dropped like all the people that I've come across and that I haven't like fully taken advantage of. I think it's all right. You know, I'm okay with it because at the end of the day, like I'm still sitting here doing what I love to do. And as long as I get to make music, man, like I'm happy. I don't necessarily need to be that guy like at the top of the charts, or there are other ways and avenues for me to pursue what I love to do, and I do it on my own terms, you know.
So how do people reach you, man? How do they get at you on social media for beats, for more information about Beat Club, etc.?
At Kato Producer is my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud handle. And if you want beats, you can go to nastytrax.com, nastytrax.com. And for Beat Club, musicentrepreneurclub.com.
Appreciate you, man. Much continued success to you. And I know that the viewers appreciate you sharing your story and your successes and failures with them.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you this was long overdue, so thank you for having me, man.